April 29, 1868. The age, Melbourne, Australia. Buried Treasures and the Spirit World. The Newark Tribune recently published an account of some excavations in the town of Skiddaku, Hartford, Connecticut, under the supposed directions of spirits for the purpose of discovering certain treasures. A correspondent of the Hartford Post adds further particulars. The person most interested in the operation is a Mr. Putnam, who claims to be lineal descendant of old Israel Putnam. Mr. Putnam tells his story as follows. He has been a believer in spiritualism more than 16 years, and, although himself a medium, is capable of receiving very strong impressions from the angel world. Years ago, he went to California, and, while residing there, became impressed with the conviction that he must return to Connecticut and find a buried treasure. He consulted a medium who confirmed his impression, but told him that before starting, he must invent a corn planter. After having done this, the medium added, he must go to Boston and see another medium who would give him full directions how to proceed. But on his way to Boston, he must pass through Pennsylvania. Mr. Putnam obeyed the directions of the spirits, as he believes, invented the corn planter, obtained a patent upon it, sold the patent for $7,000, and came to Pennsylvania. Here he was impressed, still by the angel world, to purchase a tract of land containing a coal mine, which absorbed nearly all of his available funds. On reaching Boston, he sought the indicated medium, Miss Caswell, and obtained from her, or through her agency, the necessary directions relative to the place and manner in which to pursue his investigations. The indicated spot is a small cave or crevice on the bank of the Scantic River, at a place where there are 3 elbows in the stream, a little to the south of a wooded hill. The place was found as indicated, and the work of searching for the desired treasure is now vigorously going on. Mr. Putnam informed the medium that he had no funds wherewith to carry on the necessary work. She directed him to go to Mr. Doolin, a member of the Boston Common Council, who would furnish the required money. He went to Mr. Doolin, told his story, and received a large roll of bills with the promise of more when those should be exhausted. The Angel World's account of the deposit of the treasure is that it was placed in its present supposed position by the crews of 2 Spanish pirate ships. These, about 200 years ago, being closely pursued by English war vessels, were compelled to abandon their own ships to take with them the most valuable parts of the plunder and to start on a march across the country. Arriving at this point, and being threatened with an attack by the Indians, they buried in the cave 2 iron chests containing rings, jewelry, precious stones, and bars of gold, to the value, says the Angel World, of $5 million. Shortly after leaving the spot, the Spanish pirates were attacked, the greater part of them slain and the rest dispersed, and there the treasure has remained to the present day, as it required a lineal descendant of General Putnam, with all the spirit of his great ancestor within him, to unearth it. The spirit, who finally made the revelation of the existence of this precious deposit and now chiefly directs the operations of its recovery, is that of an Indian girl who calls herself Washawidawa. The financial part of the scheme is managed by Benjamin Franklin. When the treasure is found, it is to be disposed of, according to the directions already received from the Angel World, as follows. The iron chests are to be taken to a particular bank in Boston, and there opened in the presence of certain specified persons. Miss Caswell, the Boston medium, is first to make choice of one of the rings, many of which are said to be very valuable. The remainder of the property is to be sold to the best advantage, and divided as follows: 1/5 to be given to the state of Connecticut, 1/5 to the owner of the land on which it is found, 1/5 to the person who furnished the money to prosecute the search, and 2/5 to Mr. Putnam, the principal working man of the enterprise. The reason assigned by the angel world for directing Mr. Putnam to obtain the necessary funds from Mr. Doolin is that Mr. Doolin is a Roman Catholic, and the Spaniards who buried the treasure were also Catholics, and their spirits are now in purgatory waiting for some member of the same faith to release them. The Post's correspondent does not say whether Mr. Doolin is enjoined by the spirits to do this. Mr. Putnam is entirely sanguine as to ultimate success and says he would not give any man 50 cents to ensure him the final recovery of the treasure. On Sunday last, the work was carried on with more than usual vigor. January 6, 1941. Prescott Evening Courier, Prescott, Arizona. New treasure hunt looming. Los Angeles, January 6, AP. There is nothing like buried treasure to set men dreaming, and in Southern California, it seems, buried treasure is particularly easy to dream about. Many are the legends that pirates somewhere hid ill-gotten loot, that bandits galloping ahead of posses tossed plunder into convenient holes, that mission padres took treasures to the hills in fear of Indians. Not for long is Southern California without a treasure hunt. Now there may be another. John H. Ryan of Hollywood has petitioned the Board of Public Works for permission to dig up Columbus's chest and logbook, which he says a vision showed him are buried at a street corner. How the bounty or book reached Los Angeles, Ryan did not say. His petition went to the city engineer for study. The spot he names is on the outskirts of Elysian Park, where diggers' pickaxes scarred the soil for years before the city prohibited the practice. But the ban did not extend elsewhere. Freshest in memory was the attempt last year to unearth, under a Hollywood Bowl parking lot, the legendary $200,000 loot a Spaniard buried 80 years ago, protected ever since by his curse. The early Depression years brought a wave of searches. On historic Fort Moore Hill, just off the business district, a new radio divining device directed the shovels. The sum total of uncovering was 1,900 feet of tunnels scientists said may have been inhabited by lizard people 5,000 or so years ago. A decade ago, police interrupted mysterious hillside rites. Then, men and women disclosed they went there each night to chant for the return of a departed Indian chief who knew the whereabouts of fabulous wealth. 30 other men were seeking a cache in a past they claimed had millions in treasure taken from San Gabriel Mission. The leader said an Indian spirit was on the verge of pointing out the hiding place. Another man said a beautiful senorita came to him as a ghost to disclose the location of other mission funds. Many are the shovel holes in the Santa Monica Mountains, where legend says a pirate carried loot from his wrecked ship. A golf course near Upland threatened to become one big sand trap at the hand of spaders. Not gold, but sore muscles has been the harvest of each expedition.